Hey guys, we'll wait a second to see if anyone wants to watch this kind of stuff, but I guess we'll just wait for some people to show up. Get all this stuff set.
We have a person watching.
Oh yeah? Hey person.
More people in this room.
2 people.
2,
3,
4.
4.
So what we're gonna do, guys, I'll show you how these work. So these are before they had the pancake die, they had this. And this is probably what most of you guys think of when you think of a die. It's a 2-part male-female die. Now the reason these cannot be run in our presses is there's no guide system. You can't just, I mean, I'd love it if you could double stick tape these or magnetically place them, but they would be destroyed. The accuracy on these is ridiculous. You have to be so careful setting these things up. Everything has to be clamped. And the reason I went with brand new screw presses, because they haven't made any in America in 100 years. And there's a bunch of lunatics who have old iron disease. They think that that 100-year-old rusted piece of crap is better than a brand new piece of crap from India. I will take the brand new piece of crap because we're actually going to use them. We're not trying to just pretend. So this part here slides. So everything has to be very accurate. And yeah, because this has to line up absolutely perfectly and go into that die without hitting the edges. Notice the lack of clearance. Like there's no room for error at all. So when you're setting up these kind of presses, like in a factory, they have what's called a setup man, and that's all he does. He goes around and he sets up the tooling. And if the tooling gets damaged, it's his ass. They actually get paid a lot of money. The same guys are in CNC shops too. There's a guy who sets up the CNC machine, gets the program running, makes sure that it runs parts, and then you have the person who presses the button. That's me. I press the button. I don't set them up. I don't know how. But, so what we've got here is we have a blanking tool that stamps out the first part of the ring. So you stamp it out with this, and then the next step, we take it over to the other press over there. And then we stamp out the pattern, the design. Then, from there, we actually need to get some more presses. It goes to another press that would trim this out. This will set right in there like that. And this comes in, punches it out. And it punches out your prongs, and it clears the flashing off the edge of the die, off the edge of your stamping. Then it goes to another press. Looks like this one is kind of redundant to that one. But then it goes to here. And what this does, you would set this, once it's pierced, in there like this. And you set these up in the press, exactly how it's set up now. And this punches through. And it punches out all the gallery work, the little designs that are in there. See all the little designs? Punches that out. Then you go to, well, on this case, you'd flip it. See how it's got, so you take it, you do one side, then you flip it over, upside down, punch it, punch it. Then one more step. I think I have my forming tool Well, I don't have one. I have to make. Oh, here's the one I made. What I did was I just took this and drove it into aluminum. Because now what you've got is your stamping, and it's flat and it's pierced out and it looks amazing. You set that in there like this, and you put this in another press, and press it in there, and it will put the form of the ring into it. So it'll give the form. And then from there, you're on your own. You have to solder it together and finish bending it and get it all assembled. So what we're going to do, since I've only got 2 presses so far, but we'll get more. They just take up a lot of room. So here we go. So this is 16 gauge copper. It's going to take like a couple whacks to get through it. So we just bump. See how we're almost through? I mean, I could probably just do it in a single blow, but I'm trying to be careful. Okay, so we're almost through. There it is. Now, check these out. That flips it off. There's our part. So let's punch out another one to get the other one to drop through. Ooh. Definitely don't want to double strike them. Still in there. I'm afraid to go too deep with this. I should be going a little deeper. There it goes. You guys probably love my pancake dies compared to this sort of nutso kind of stuff. Then you fish out your die, your stamping from below. In theory, there it is. So there's your stamping. These are perhaps a little on the thick side. I'm thinking 18 gauge is probably a better choice. But let's go over to how many people are watching the fun.
18.
Really?
Yep. 19.
Okay, so here is your, now this isn't as critical. So I haven't even fastened this die down really. It's just sitting in this tray. So you take your piece, your blank, you put it in the die. You just place it. So as you can see, this is not mass production, okay? They never, when they would make these pieces, it was a single craftsman usually sitting and doing this operation very carefully. It wasn't, these were for platinum and diamond jewelry. They would, obviously they'd make a lot of it, but it was high skill work. So here we go. I'm gonna give this one a good whirl. Can you imagine getting whacked in the head with this? Let's give it another hit. There we go. And there it is. See the little flashing around the edge of it? Now watch this. So if I had I got another screw press to set up. You set this like this, right in here, and then punches it out, and the actual design falls out the bottom with the design on it. And so you'd probably, a person would probably sit and stamp maybe 10 or 20 of these, and then they would move over to the next machine and over and over and over. And in the factories that I'd seen, not many of these factories were still around, but the ones that I had seen, they had, well, Eli Group, they had 700 kick presses. So some people use kick presses instead of these. I opted, well, I can't really get a kick press, a new one. And a lot of the ones I've seen are pretty, I have one, they're pretty worn out. So I opted to go with the screw press. Plus I just think they're kind of cool. But yeah, they had 700 of them set up. And they made lockets. So there would be just thousands, like hundreds of die sets all set up in a row, and there would be people basically sitting at each station, and I swear they must have had one giant leg, because they'd sit there and they had these really cool special chairs, and you just sit there and go push, push, and your parts stamp out, and you pass them to the next person and the next operation all the way down the line. I guess that's what they were saying, the good factory jobs. But I don't know if they'd be. I don't know how fun it would be, honestly. Because I remember talking to Duke about it, and I said how much you guys would love to come stamp out parts, and he goes, "I'll pay him to stamp out parts. You want to come stand here all day?" Like, because I said that people do this for fun, and he didn't believe me. But yeah, let's make another one. So, honestly, guys, if you ever get time to come visit us, I'm going to have all this stuff set up, because I'm going to fill that wall behind Vincent there, is going to be completely filled with shelving, and we're going to put all the rings on it, because we have several companies. We end up with Weight Thresher, a couple others, but we have a few hundred of these different filigree rings, and nobody's producing this stuff, not die striking it anyway, so I think it'll be fun to do. So here, we'll do another piece. This is just copper. Silver would definitely be easier. So I kind of level it out. There it goes. I got this really cool die holder right here. This came from Van Cranest. It was pretty sweet. I love this thing. I always wondered what these little claws were for, and then it occurred to me they're the strippers.
Robert's watching.
Oh, cool. He can probably give us some tips on what we're doing wrong here. Pretty good pierce. And here's our stamping. This stuff's really delicate, but we got these lined up really well. Let's go hit another one. So what I'll do, we'll do a bunch of these in silver, and I'll run them through the system through here, and then you guys can do the assembly work on them, or settings and finishing, whatever you want to do. But I'm going to make a bunch of it. It'd be good to practice, because I haven't done this stuff either. I don't think anyone, these dies have not been run. I bet you the last time these were run was probably the 1930s.
Robert says it looks like you've got it figured out.
Cool. All right. And there's our part. Looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. Yeah, they really are pretty tight. You can tell stuff that was made for precious metals, for fine jewelry, the dies are so much more precise. Everything is designed to really conserve on metal. Because the cost was everything, especially in the jewelry industry. The profit margins were so slim doing this type of work. Actually, from what I've been told, the companies that we got these rings from, they went bankrupt back in the 50s. These companies went bankrupt, and the stuff had been held by my friend Eddie, the hoarder. He's worse than me, huh, Vincent?
Yes.
Yeah, we are rank amateurs on the scale of hoarding compared to Eddie.
Three floors
of hoarding. He's taken it to a whole new level, and then 4 if you count the basement.
Yes.
And I mean, it's just absolute massive amounts of. He was a tool and die maker, and they own a tool and die company, and he just happens to be pretty much one of the last ones alive, and he just. Basically, he ended up with all the tools, and he's in his mid-70s, and He's been kind enough to start sending some of it our way. But he never used any of it. They were still running more modern production. But he was just basically saving it because, you know, he knew how much work went into this stuff. And he couldn't bear to see it scrapped either. And so we're lucky enough that he saved huge amounts of it. But if we don't use it and we don't start actually doing something with it, it does no good to set it on the shelf and put it in, you know, basically we call this place the black hole. And unless I run production on it and people at least get to see it and, I don't know, see how it was once done, it may as well have been scrapped. So that's why I'm so excited when you guys love to see this stuff. And, you know, same with all these lockets. I mean, this stuff has been sitting for years unused. And, you know, maybe we're not going to be able to use it as elegantly as Guyot Brothers did it, you know, like it's pretty complicated setups, but I think that it's just getting another chance at life, even if it's not, you know, even if we're not exactly master craftsmen, it's fine. It's fine. It's better than going to the scrapyard or rusting to death. So I think it's really cool that we get to use this kind of stuff and get to, you know, these are all handmade. This was just really nice. I'm surprised that we got the masters with them. I got a bunch more masters too. So it was kind of funny when I agreed to buy the locket stuff, I was informed that, you know, I thought it was just, I swear to God, my wife doesn't believe me, but I thought that I was buying, like, I don't know, I figured it would be like, at the most, like a tiny crate, like something we ship our presses in. And,
Oh, by the way, Robert says he used kick presses to cut off flash.
oh, okay. We might need to bring ours down and set it up for that. That would be good. But yeah, I remember, I figured I was getting like a single crate, like something we would move our presses in that we'd ship to you guys. And Adolfo goes, Kevin, what did you buy on eBay? There's 6 pallets. And I was like, I don't know. And then, sure enough, it was like, I thought we were just getting like maybe a hub and a die or a force and a die. But what we got was the entire line with all the equipment. Absolutely everything, even all setup instructions. Somebody was kind enough to have put all the instructions in with each box, which is pretty amazing. So, you know, we're going to do our best to maybe do a run of that. I'll get more of these presses set up because they can definitely be run in some of these. Some of the stuff, so you can see the age of the tools. Some of it's from the early 1900s and some of it's from the 70s where they were running automatic presses. You know, that stuff, we're probably not going to use it. But the early stuff, definitely. We can put it on here and it's set up. And if you guys come out, it'll be great. We can set up the drop hammer and strike some locket cases. And you guys can make jewelry the way it was made a long time ago. But we'll stamp out some parts and sell some stampings as well. But part of me wants to see if I can make a go of it, producing this kind of jewelry. A few of my friends who are in the trade, they told me I should have my head examined. They said that it's really, and you know, I thought I could produce rolling mills too for a profit. Yeah, so you know, probably can't produce these profitably, but it sure is fun. And I'm glad to be able to show people how it's done because there's no one shows these. Well, they didn't have Facebook live stream back in the day, and they didn't have, and yeah, nobody would videotape their setups because it was, you know, you can learn a lot. Like when I see videos or anything, I can learn a lot about how something's made and make great leaps forward. I watch the Chinese machining channels now because they're the ones making everything. So if you guys ever want to see something really cool, watch the guys out of India. It's amazing because they're still hand making everything. They haven't automated it all with CNC and computers. They're still hand fabricating jewelry, and they do beautiful work. It's a different style than what we're used to, but it's still really cool. And that's where these presses came from. Karachi Foundry Works. And yeah, it's a fantastic press. It's in good shape. Well, it's brand new. And for the money, I think this one was $1,300. This one was a little more because it's bigger. But as you can see, it's not going to get you, you're not going to press deep shells like a lot of the stuff that we're selling. You're not going to press that on here. It just doesn't have a lot of force. This is like maybe a couple tons. Let me punch one more out. Oh, still didn't go through. I've been chicken to go the full depth. Let's make this go a little deeper. See, what you don't want to do, check this out. See that little shiny line there? You don't want this to go too deep into the die. You can see where I'm not going full depth. So let me make this a little bit of a, this is your adjustment. You can see where it's all threaded. Okay. So you gently bring it down. There we go. Just that little bit more, probably be enough. So hopefully anyone who's watching, if you get the chance to get one of these things and you find some old dies, at least they'll have this to go by. They won't blow things up completely. And then these are your little stripper tongs. Very cool. And then there's your part. Now you guys have noticed in my FSS dies, the part's still stuck in there. And that's because you don't go to the trouble of setting up an FSS die to strike one part. So here we go again. Punch through. And there it is. Imagine if that was a big sheet of platinum. There it is. And let's strike it again. For anybody who missed this,
40 people watching.
the one thing about these processes, these machines, they don't come with like a kit. There's no, like when you buy this machine, it doesn't come with any of this stuff. These holders or any of this stuff, you gotta make it. So at least you've seen, like if you end up with one of these machines, you'll know what this stuff kind of looks like, because otherwise it's kind of a pain. Because there's no pictures online, there's no descriptions of any of this type of tooling. We've just gotten lucky when we end up with some of these companies, the stuff is left behind or it's just sort of thrown in with it. So you can see these were made by Van Cranest, these here, and it's to hold your die set. So you would clamp this whole thing down. Since we're not doing a male-female punch here, it's just a flat die, I can just let this thing float freely. But normally this would be locked in place. And then you would adjust your die forward and backward until it's in perfect position. And everything's aligned. There we go. And I'm going to get some cool lighting in here too. So here we go. I'm going to give it the big old spin. Whoa, it picked it up. Wow. Holy cow. Stuck it to it. There it is. There's your part. It looks pretty nice. Yep. So, guess that might be it for the day. I'll start producing some more of these shapes and I'll get them formed, and then you guys can buy a half. It'll come, you get 2 of them, and then you can solder them together and put a stone in it. They'll just be silver, so they'll be really affordable. They weigh almost nothing. I just want to, let's put some stuff out there and see if anyone wants to play with it. But yeah, and I'll make some It'll give me good practice because I want to make some platinum stuff. And see if I can lose a lot of money. Thanks, guys. See you later.